Here's the thing that people are missing about elected Republicans, people in Trump's cabinet, and most importantly, Donald Trump's supporters. We've all been reading these newly released Epstein emails today. There is no amount of proof against Donald Trump that will ever convince his base to turn on him. His base doesn't care if he's guilty of having sex with minors. They don't care. Trump's base, elected Republicans, right-wing media, they have never, ever, ever cared about victims, regardless of how young they are. They only care about the perpetrators. Going back to Pizzagate, up through QAnon, Epstein's client list, they only care about perpetrators when they think that all of the perpetrators are on the left. That's the only reason they care about any of this. I mean, with Pizzagate, the perps were Hillary Clinton. And with QAnon, it was the cabal of current and former elected Democrats, the billionaire Dem donor class like George Soros, Hollywood lefties like Tom Hanks and Oprah. And with Jeffrey Epstein, they thought it was the same group. They thought it was the same people. Bill Gates, George Soros, Bill Clinton. I mean, what's the number one retort that we're hearing from people on the right? Yeah, but what about Bill Clinton? What about Bill Clinton? If he's fucking guilty, put him in prison for the rest of his life. Same with Bill Gates. Same with all of them. But nobody on the right has ever given two shits about victims. They only care about the perps. That's why we have the Lake and Riley Act. That legislation, named after a young woman who was horrifically and tragically murdered, did not come about from Republicans because that young woman was horrifically murdered. That law came about because that young woman was horrifically murdered by an undocumented immigrant. That legislation was named after her because of who killed her, not because she was killed. There is no amount of evidence that will ever, ever, ever turn Trump's base against him. It could be on video, and they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. The only way that things like today's document dump and email dump are going to matter is if it matters politically to the rest of the country, apart from Donald Trump's base. You could show them video of him raping a 13-year-old girl, and they wouldn't give two shits. They wouldn't care. They would not care at all. The rest of the country would care. Maybe a handful of elected Republicans would care. Maybe a handful of his cabinet would care. His own family wouldn't give a shit. His own family knows exactly who and what he is. They've known it forever. Ivanka sat next to him on some fucking TV show when he said, if she wasn't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. He said that in front of her on live TV. They all know exactly who and what he is. Because Republicans care about power. That's all they care about. They care about power. And Trump's base cares about punishment. Punishing the other marginalized communities that they don't like. And if they have to have their imperfect vessel be someone who was literally best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years and who very likely engaged in a lot of the same activities that Jeffrey Epstein engaged in. I mean, you know, it's like I've been seeing all these fucking news shows today, and all of these news hosts go out of their way to say that, well, Donald Trump has never been accused of anything illegal. Bullshit. Google Katie Johnson. Google Katie Johnson, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and read the civil complaint that she filed against both of them, accusing them of raping her when she was 13 or 14 years old, at a time in her life when she looked almost identical to a 13 or 14-year-old Ivanka Trump. He was accused. He was credibly accused. And she got death threats, and she withdrew her lawsuit. That was almost 8 years ago. His base doesn't care about victims. They only care about the perps. And if the perp is on their side, these are people who are all in Christian churches who carry sexual abuse and molestation insurance. These are people who, husbands and wives, late at night, the husband goes into the room of the 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old daughter, and the mom knows it and does nothing. Those are Donald Trump supporters. Those are Donald Trump supporters. They forgive their pastors, they forgive their reverends, they forgive their priests, they forgive their youth pastors, they forgive their kids' coaches for raping their children. It could be on video, and Donald Trump supporters still wouldn't turn on him. They would justify it, rationalize it, blow it off, deny it, or just say, I don't give a fuck. He's our guy. He's an imperfect vessel, and God works in mysterious ways. God seems to work in a lot of mysterious ways that involve adults having sex with children inside the Christian religion, especially among evangelicals in the United States. And they don't care. They don't care about that. They're not going to care about this at all.